Story this afternoon, court adjourning until tomorrow in the Meyiwa murder trial after emotional testimony from Zandile Khumalo about the night Meyiwa died. Our reporter Linda Mnisi in the trial for you today. Linda, good afternoon to you. What happened during this testimony?
Well, Zandile Khumalo detailed, Stephen, the last moments of Senzo Meyiwa, particularly when you look at the time when he was taken to hospital after, of course, those 3 shots were fired. We understand from Zandi's testimony that when they got into the hospital, when they got to the hospital, he was wheeled into the emergency room where, of course, the hospital staff told the Zandile Khumalo as well as the people that she was with that they were not allowed to come into that particular unit. Her mother then arrived and went straight to where, Senzo Meyiwa had been taken. Her scream ultimately told them that, Senzo had died, and that's when they actually found out that Senzo Meyiwa had died. She faced quite a number of questions around what happened that day, also around a number of things that have since happened, particularly also when you look into the identification of the suspects and the people, the alleged intruders who were in the house at the time. She's gone and described the kind of people that were in the house. She's described the first intruder as having had dreadlocks that reached the neck at length, as well as the second intruder who was wearing a hoodie. She goes on to say that she was able to identify the second intruder because you'll remember she had previously testified that they had scuffled or tussled with the alleged intruders, and at some point she was hitting the alleged intruder with a crutch that belonged to Tumelo Madlala. So she had identified that particular person in that way. Again, we see in this court, questions around who the person that was in the house at the time was. Was she able to do a doc identification? Yes, she was able to point out that person from the doc, identifying accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, as having been the one who was inside the house. How she was able to describe him? He was tall and slim and had a beard, and that's how she remembers him. You'll remember, Stephen, there's also the issue around the second docket. She was asked about it, the state leading evidence around that, and whether she was aware that a second docket existed. And what she told the court was that she only heard in the news. Nobody formally informed her about the existence of this particular, docket. Also going as far as talking about the interviews. You'll remember that since Senzo Meyiwa has died, there's been a series of interviews that the Khumalos have done, and Zandile Khumalo herself being asked about some of the interviews that she has done, and she says there's been a number of interviews and that her job entails doing interviews. What she's ultimately asked is beyond her control, but the ones that she could remember were recent interviews that she conducted, one that she conducted with ENCA and other radio interviews, and she was asked whether that interview happened during the proceedings, and she says yes, and it wasn't explained to her that she shouldn't have done an interview when these proceedings are ongoing in court. So we took a short adjournment, a lunch break, and when we came back, Stephen, and it was time for her to start with cross-examination, Zandile Khumalo did not show up, and the state advocate telling the court that there were issues with her accommodation that still needed to be sorted out. He asked for a short adjournment, and at a later stage he came back with Zandi, the court now being informed that she was not feeling well, and as a result of other issues that also include the accommodation issues, she wouldn't be able to continue with her testimony. The judge asking her to rise and asking her specifically what was wrong with her. She told the court that she had chest pains, and that matter had to be ultimately postponed. So cross-examination starts tomorrow.
Fascinating developments there. All right. Thank you very much indeed, Linda Mnisi. She not feeling well. Cross-examination tomorrow.